Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Tuesday. I have an amazing guest today. I'm so excited about the conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about democratizing access to capital, and I have Preeti Adhikari here. So, Preeti, thank you so much for being with me today.
Hi, Scarlett. So excited to be here.
Love it. And as I said to you on LinkedIn, you have such an incredible background, and I think doing so many amazing things to genuinely make the world a better place. And I always want to help to have those conversations. So,
Thank you.
your title is Senior Manager, Policy and Implementation at Innovations for Poverty Action. Not a small title, not an easy
Right.
title. And in fact, that's your day job, but that's not what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about all of your extracurricular involvements, where you have a fair amount of involvement across a variety of funds, really looking about connecting underrepresented founders to capital. So that's the focus of today. So with that, one thing that I hear a lot in my work, in my personal life, when I'm going to meetings or dinners or whatever else is, as we have evolved so much in many ways as a society, it's 2022. You can connect to pretty much anyone, anywhere in the world now. Why is this still an issue? Why is it still that underrepresented founders are having such a challenge connecting to capital?
Well, I think there's few reasons, right? So in my experience, I'm originally from Nepal. I've lived in Singapore, Canada, and now the US. And I see that good ideas are everywhere, right? And people are brilliant everywhere, hardworking, driven, you name it, right? Everything that we think are needed for a startup to be successful. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen, right? I mean, there are so many people with amazing ideas that just, they don't get anywhere. And we can talk about product market fit and things like that, but capital is such a big component, right? And what I've seen is, you can obviously do a lot of things, really hustle and make your startup be successful, but that flow of capital is super important. And not just flow of capital, right? What comes with that is exposure, is the mentorship, guidance, and things like that. And that's where a lot of underrepresented founders and a lot of communities around the world suffer from, because they don't have that, right? They don't have an ecosystem where there is a lot of activity, a lot of mentorship happening. So I think that's something that is important. I think just to have that foundation of activity and even education in terms of what's important for a startup, right? I mean, the governance that's needed, and the metrics that you need to hit, and thinking in terms of fundraising and so on.
You made so many key points there, right? And I think it's there's a myriad of reasons as to why one company is successful, and it's not necessarily because you have the best product. I mean, of course that's a part of it, but it's about the timing, it's about having the right connections and getting those first few things over the line. So you gave us a nice little taster of your background coming from Nepal and Singapore, Canada, now to the US. So oftentimes, especially for those a little bit outside of the industry, when we think about the funding that's going into the future of the world, tech or others, you're thinking Silicon Valley, New York, London, Tel Aviv, other key markets like that. Where are you seeing, because you look at this from the global perspective, where are the other maybe hotbeds from a geographic perspective or a city perspective that you've seen a lot of really amazing talent and concepts come out of?
Sure. I mean, what's exciting about the world now is we are actually seeing a lot of funding going into places that we wouldn't necessarily think of, right? In terms of Latin America, Asia, Africa, and it's all exciting. What I think and I hope is going to happen is, even within those regions, we'll look at countries and cities where funding hasn't gone to, right? For example, in Asia, we have a lot of funding that's gone to startups in India and China and now Bangladesh and Pakistan, and it's amazing, right? What I want to see is similar things happening to my home country, Nepal, and other countries around there as well, right? I mean, I think even in Africa, there's a lot of money going into fintech and so on, and which is just like so amazing. But what I'm hoping for is a world where there are going to be startup founders from all corners of the world, even countries we can't even pronounce, and even investors from those regions as well. So that's my hope for the future.
Not a small ambition or hope, but one that
Right.
is certainly really exciting to think about. And as you said, I mean, even in, I mentioned two cities in the US. I am US based, but thinking of like, what about some more cities from the South, like a Lafayette or a Kansas City or a
Exactly.
Boise, where there really is opportunities. And I love the other part of it, which is not just about bringing the founders, but the money, because it is a little bit of time, the chicken and the egg. Well, one of the reasons why people flock towards those areas is because that's where the money is. So if you have the
Of
money there
course.
first, then people will kind of change it around, which is a really, really interesting point. So last question for you, my dear. You spend so much time mentoring and speaking with entrepreneurs all over the world. I know that there's never a magic answer, but if you were to just take a step back and think, what is the one thing, like, is there one piece of advice or something that you could share with the audience, especially with those underrepresented founders on that journey of access to capital? What's in your mind?
That's a tough question, I think, right? I mean, building a company is the hardest thing in the world, right? But what I've discovered recently is the power of that ask, right? Now that we're all tech enabled and connected in that sense, it's so much easier to just reach out to somebody for, and it doesn't have to be like, it's not going to be you cold email somebody and they're going to wire you a check. That hardly happens, right? But what might happen is you might get 20 minutes of somebody's time who could give you very good feedback on your idea, your product. They could introduce you to somebody, right? So there is this snowball effect that could happen. There's nothing to lose in that sense, right? I think especially underrepresented founders, and you're right, they're all over the US as well, right? I think the biggest hurdle is just overcoming that, right? Where you feel like, okay, how am I going to start this? How am I going to find a mentor, find advisors, find investors, all of that. There's a long list of people you wish you had, but the first step is just trying it out, right? It never hurts, and I've seen that, right? I love it when startups just reach out to me, and even if I'm not the person just investing money in them, I will definitely try my level best to see if they're a good match for funds that I know, or I'm going to ask somebody for a recommendation, something. At least they're going to be better off one step, right? So it's I would just recommend everybody to take that step, to just ask. It never hurts.
I love that, and that's a big thing too, right? Is because of technology and other things, you are able to, whether or not you know them, potentially connect with those people. And part of it is about, like you said, it doesn't have to be a cold email, but through social channels or whatever, you can learn a lot about someone. So if you use
Exactly.
that as a starter to say, been following you, love this, that piece, or whatever else, would love to have a discussion about that or how this ties into what this thing was. We're all humans. It doesn't matter if are the biggest, most celebrity human, or everyone,
Right.
like we all are all people. So there are things that resonate with us, that kind of connect with us, that allows for those deeper level of relationships. All right, my dear, such a pleasure speaking with you. You had so many interesting insights in your Q&A. So for all of you, as always, so thank you so much. And for all of you, as always, thanks for tuning in. The full Q&A of Pretty will be below. There's a lot of gems there. And until next week.
Bye. Thanks, Scarlett.